Idubbbz, I'm gonna get you. I'm coming for you.
Uncuffed. I want him to get the tattoos lasered off, get a normal haircut, get rid of Yoko Ono. That's poisonous. That relationship is poisonous.
Idubbbz, Sam Hyde. They're two of the most important names in internet culture, pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable to joke about and influencing an entire generation of content creators. On paper, the two seem like they would get along, or, at the very least, be able to produce some interesting content together. The latter is true. Audiences have been enamored with their interactions for the past few months in one of the more captivating online sagas from recent memory. However, to say that they get along would be more than a stretch. Users across all platforms have been discussing their apparent disagreement, which culminated in Sam being banned from Ian's latest outing, the Creator Clash. Sam's fans accuse Idubbbz of changing, leaving behind his edgy past for a more sanitized image, and even attempting to expose Sam in what was ultimately a failed hit piece. Ian's fervent defenders point out Sam's controversial past, saying his mere presence at the fight would be a liability, and criticize Sam's audience. On some level, I think the change in Ian probably challenges their lack of growth, their stagnant, negative ideologies. Despite all of the talk around this, many seem left in the dark as to what went down between the two. So today, I'll explain it all. If you're a frequent viewer of my channel, it's very unlikely you don't know who Idubbbz is. But for the unfamiliar, he's been a YouTuber for nearly a decade, receiving massive success from criticizing others on and off of YouTube. First being known for his appearances in Filthy Frank videos, Kickstarter Crap was his first successful series, where he would review poorly made Kickstarter projects and interact with their creators. This later evolved into Content Cop, where he would pick apart a YouTuber or entire genre of YouTubers in comedic fashion. And this was the real highlight of what he did best. Not only were his critiques extremely hard-hitting, but his humor was basically unparalleled in comparison to other YouTubers. For a few years, it seems like anything he said would become a meme in and of itself.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I have crippling depression.
Say some fucking gay shit.
I'm gay.
And he would use these comedic chops on his enemies as well, turning aspects of their character or content into memes that would be spread far and wide. For a time, it seems like his reputation was untouchable. People basically regarded him as a god amongst men on the platform. And I don't mean that lightly either. His audience was extremely loyal, and the respect he commanded was the envy of everyone who looked up to him.
God bless you, Idubbbz.
After a final installment of Content Cop in October of 2017, he would change the focus of his channel to smaller side projects and cease every series that had made his channel up until that point. Many assumed this was because of YouTube's demonetization policies around controversial content going into effect around this time. This caused a level of disinterest in his channel among those who had primarily come for the drama, an audience which would ultimately leave his channel as a result of his first major controversy. In March of 2020, a number of memes spread online which poked fun at Idubbbz's longtime girlfriend, Anissa Jamha. She had been previously criticized by commentary channels at length for comments she made on stream, but she, and by extension Ian, would be the subject of mockery by many online users when she announced that she would be posting content to OnlyFans, a website dedicated to not safe for work content. Ian was called a simp and a cuck for laughs, while some sincerely believed that he had fallen from grace. He responded to this in a video titled "Sex Workers, Idubbbz Complains."
A good amount of people are just doing the reasonable thing and just making jokes and laughing about it. But there's a whole nother group of people who feel personally devastated and betrayed.
While the reception from his audience was mostly positive, the video still had the highest dislike ratio out of his entire channel, with 270,000 of his viewers clicking the thumbs down. He also lost 20,000 subscribers, which, while not massive compared to the size of his channel, is still worth noting. I believe this is the moment when the rose-tinted glasses much of his audience had began to fade. Regardless of their reasoning being somewhat petty, it opened the doors for many more criticisms of him to be made, which brings us to the man that is currently a voice for that part of his audience, Sam Hyde.
I want him to get the tattoos lasered off, get a normal haircut, get rid of Yoko Ono, because that's poisonous. That relationship is poisonous. She's like his entertainment handler. Like she's his fucking career manager now or something. She's got to go, man. She's gonna ruin his life.
It wouldn't be inaccurate to call Sam Hyde an internet legend. While he's not a YouTuber in a traditional sense, his work has played a part in inspiring both online content creators and comedians in the mainstream. In the early 2010s, Sam, Nick Rochefort, and Charles Carroll formed $1 Million Extreme, a comedy troupe dedicated to posting subversive comedy online. Some of this was sketches, and some of it was on-the-ground interviews with various individuals who they intended to poke fun at. The group was revered by their niche but loyal audience they developed online, being able to generate so much traction that they eventually made their way to the mainstream, with $1 Million Extreme Presents World Peace.
So what you're saying is bullies function as a sort of social watchdog.
Exactly. Well, we found that bullies tend to sniff out the troubled or stupid student.
I'm tired of playing with you fuckface! I'm not playing with you anymore!
And make sure their sociopathic and bad behavior gets nipped in the bud right away before it can become a problem.
The series began airing in August of 2016 and was a success for Adult Swim, with over 1 million viewers watching its premiere and over 1 million viewing the finale. Impressive metrics, especially in an era when TV has been dwindling in popularity. It seemed like all was going well, as the hard work of the three had paid off. Unfortunately, their time in the industry was ultimately short-lived. On August 25th, 2016, BuzzFeed News released an article titled, "The Alt-Right Has Its Very Own TV Show on Adult Swim." Its author, Joseph Bernstein, went on to effectively write a hit piece on the show with a specific focus on Sam. He writes, "In fact, there's really only one thing that separates At Night of Fire, real name Sam Hyde, from the many other members of the angry, pro-Trump internet movement that grew out of Gamergate into a force capable of roiling American popular and political culture. Sam has his own television show on Cartoon Network." While BuzzFeed was hardly pulling numbers, with the author of the article averaging no more than 30 likes on his Twitter account, the management at Adult Swim felt that there was a significant threat being posed to their image. Sam, meanwhile, attempted to convince the executives that the article would ultimately have no effect on the network's reputation.
It's a shame. I mean, that's what I fucking told Mike Lazo on the phone. I was like, begging him to fucking listen to reason. I was like, dude, just fucking grow some balls for like 2 days and like wait this out. It'll be gone, I promise you. And it was just, they weren't having it. They wanted it to stop.
Despite this, the show was canceled after just one season, leaving the three out of a job and meaning any attempts to work in the industry past that point would likely be fruitless. Sam's YouTube channel was also terminated at the time, and the subreddit for the comedy troupe was similarly banned. $1 Million Extreme was disbanded, with the three going their separate ways to make ends meet. Since then, Sam has been posting content online on YouTube and on Gumroad, to those who view his comedy videos and podcast episodes on a regular basis. While what happened with Adult Swim was undoubtedly a negative experience, it did make his audience even more loyal, with them following him to every new platform he uses, despite repeated bannings, in a way that most creators simply couldn't pull off. But for years, it seemed Sam was on an island of his own, rarely appearing in content with other big names, existing segregated from the rest of the world of online content. Until 2022. On January 8th, 2022, the Hyde Wars channel released The Truth About Idubbbz. Framed from the title as a sort of exposed video, the upload itself is actually a rough cut of a documentary Idubbbz had filmed 9 months prior about Sam Hyde. Ian's most popular uploads from the last 2 years have been videos taking a look at interesting internet personalities who may otherwise be unexplored, like Airsoft Fatty and Dax Flame. Ian flew from California to Rhode Island to film a similar video about Sam, someone whose work had clearly inspired him in some way in the past, and to many, has a certain mystique about the intentions with some of his jokes. On paper, it seems like a good idea, but 9 months later, the documentary still hadn't been released on the Idubbbz channel, and he had ceased to respond to texts that Sam had sent him.
And I think I bothered him too much. Something like that. I wasn't like an asshole or anything, but I think I probably just texted him too many times.
Hyde claims he had spent 2 weeks and $15,000 on the video, an investment he intended to capitalize on in some way if Ian wasn't going to release his version. What follows is a series of interactions between Ian, Sam, and Sam's crew, who spend a significant duration of the video basically pranking Ian. This included pretending that they worked out of an old dentist's office in a single room basically filled with computers, saying bizarre shit about making beats and cryptocurrency, trying to get Ian to try lean, introducing Ian to an actress Sam had hired to play the role of his cracked-out girlfriend, who was honestly pretty convincing as that.
Anemic? Yeah, a little bit. We look alike though. Kind of weird.
Okay, I think I get what you were saying.
No comment.
As well as a number of bits, like boxing under an overpass and riding in a three-wheeled recreational vehicle known as a slingshot. The video itself is pretty funny, and the stage being set that two of the most prominent people in internet culture would be interacting during the entire thing was great. But as the video goes on, it becomes clear that Ian did not shoot the video he intended while out there. According to Sam, he got the impression that Ian wanted to shoot a sort of exposed video on him, the life of a comedian who had been canceled from television, banned from most major social media sites, and was now subsisting off of a small audience who viewed his content on alternative tech platforms.
Idubbbz was kind of trying to punk me a little bit. Yeah. And like make me look like a guy that had like fallen off, which I have. Like I've fallen off, like undoubtedly. But I think he kind of wanted to like, he wanted to come out here and see something depressing.
Later on in the video, during an interview, Ian attempts to press Sam on the intentions with his comedy, possibly calling back to his ties to the alt-right around the 2016 election. Ian seems to subscribe to the idea that the intention with comedy should be clear, and there should be an obvious punchline, rather than masking yourself in irony and never revealing what you mean by what you say, if there is any meaning at all. Sam, however, states that he has no intentions of being completely upfront about what the joke is, instead wanting it to be somewhat open to the viewer.
Is it valid for me to just not care about that? Like, do I have to be like scrutinizing my words and be like, oh, maybe I could get more views if I really explained what I meant when I said cum dumpster? Like, can I not give a fuck about that at all?
I mean, obviously you can.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Many also took note of a part during the interview when Ian brought up something that had happened 8 years prior. Sam Hyde had created a fake Kickstarter campaign for a brony simulator video game. Ian then made a video criticizing the Kickstarter and calling it a scam, which Sam took down from YouTube via a false copyright takedown. Ian brings this up at the beginning of their interview together, at which point Sam gets visibly uncomfortable.
You should have just told me, man, I'm sorry. There's water here.
No, it's all good, man. It's
I don't like having static with people that I actually like.
Sam and many of his fans interpreted this as a gotcha moment, where Ian would attempt to call out Sam by bringing up a negative interaction the two had years before. This brought into question Ian's intentions when making the documentary. Had he done it to make a hit piece on Sam? Was he trying to make a critical video on his comedy and his life? What was the point of it all? Given Ian had walked away from making edgy jokes on his channel, was it possible he was trying to distance himself from that part of his past by, as Sam said, punking him?
Is it because you're, doing so much that you just sort of forget all the bridges you burn and all the people you fuck with?
Ian is a perfect example of someone who made it to the top using extremely offensive content and pulling the ladder up and telling others not to do it. Ultimately, answers to these questions would be up in the air until nearly a month later, when on February 2nd, 2022, Idubbbz released Getting Away With It, the full documentary that so many had been pining for. It was a good video by most standards. The editing was captivating, it was well-paced, the writing and commentary from Ian was interesting, and the video itself filled in many of the missing pieces from the one on the Hyde Wars channel. There were also several segments that were clearly filmed very recently in direct response to what Sam and others had said about Ian's intentions with the video, where he attempts to explain himself a bit more. I feel that the opening shot of the documentary after the intro encapsulates the rest of the video quite well, in fact.
Well, my name is Gormedios, and I'm a 400-year-old vampire, but I actually appear to be 13, so...
According to Ian, he had set out to film a serious documentary. Sam, for all of the content that's been posted about him online, ultimately is not like mainstream e-celebrities in one particular way. We don't know much about his personal life. Many content creators will spend a significant amount of time updating their audience on their personal endeavors. In fact, the content many of them produce is just about the lives they are living. By contrast, the majority of Sam's content comes down to his comedy. And while he has many sincere moments on his podcast and in interviews he's done, he ultimately is much more guarded than the average internet personality. According to Ian, he wanted to peer into that world, something Sam responded to with a series of comedic bits and pranks intended to entertain the audience. Sam wanted to do a collab video, and in Ian's words, he wanted to peel back the curtain to pick the brain of someone who many see as elusive.
I think once Sam had revealed all the gaslighting stuff to me, he figured there wasn't really much of a reason to continue to cooperate because he had provided his entertainment.
so why continue?
He also directly responds to the accusation that him bringing up the DMCA claim was some sort of gotcha against Sam, stating that it was really just an interesting fact about their past he wanted to bring up, rather than some serious point of contention he had with the video subject.
Yeah, the video is not meant to be a hit piece. I didn't set out to do that. I was like, no one's made like a documentary, at least a good documentary, about MDE or Sam Hyde. So, like, this is a great opportunity. So of course, I'm gonna rack my autistic brain to figure out, okay, what things do Sam and I have in common? Well, we interacted however many years ago. Maybe that's something I could bring up in the interview.
But from both cuts of the documentary, it can be seen that this was the point when Sam got a bad feeling about the entire thing and more or less shut down.
You guys just weren't comfortable around each other.
The vibes were just weird.
Yeah.
It's clear there was some serious miscommunication between Idubbbz and Sam, and from this point on, the static created by that remained between them. Once Ian flew home, Sam clearly had a somewhat negative view of how things had gone. He thought there was some bad blood Ian had with him and that the video's intentions were not necessarily conducive to his success or likability. Ian, on the other hand, states that it was merely an interesting fact he wanted to bring up, which unfortunately caused Sam to put his walls up and be unwilling to have a candid conversation with him later that day. In my personal opinion, it's not completely true that Ian set out to make a hit piece on Sam or that he wanted to do a completely neutral documentary. That much is already clear from the points in the video when he attempts to outline the intentions behind Sam's more controversial jokes, and spends 5 minutes explaining what irony is.
People don't tend to do things for no reason. There has to be an answer here. And there are two answers. Either you're just bad at irony, or you're just being sincere.
Ultimately, that answer is not something he got. Ian clearly wants to explain the humor of someone who blatantly does not want to make the joke dead clear. He brings up the Adult Swim cancellation as an important stepping stone in the path of how Sam got where he is today, and at some points seems to blatantly reference his affiliation with the alternative right in tandem with the implication that his humor is more than humor, and instead is reflective of his political or cultural beliefs.
He intentionally doesn't make it obvious when he is or isn't joking about something. Why he does this is up for interpretation, I guess, but after seeing how much he appears to involve himself in political ideologies, it seems he prefers to use meta-irony as a shield.
Did he set out to make a hit piece? Maybe not. Even if he had, it's unlikely it would have any real effect on Sam's following or bottom line. But it's clear that Ian wanted to pin down what Sam means by some of his more wild jokes, and make a point about the importance of intentions of comedians. He wanted to criticize him for his comedy.
But it's also a perfect fallback option for when you receive criticism for a point that you are genuinely trying to make.
He concludes the video by saying that he was ultimately disappointed with the outcome. He didn't learn anything about Sam he didn't know from the onset, and did not accomplish the goal of the video. Regardless, the video itself performed pretty well. It got more than 4.5 million views, and despite whatever weirdness there may be behind Ian's intended message, viewers really enjoyed seeing the official cut of the doc. The format of two documentaries happening at once is a dichotomy I wish to see in all future docs. This is the first time seeing Idubbbz completely out of place, outmatched, and just downright confused about everything. Hyde is truly a menace. Sam's goof was hilarious. What you say about Sam winning a game that only he is playing is completely true too. Good watch. After the release of the video, a short response was posted where Sam basically dissolves any tension that may still remain by saying that he enjoyed the video for what it was, and ultimately he was thankful for someone with such a big audience to basically promote his name on a larger platform. It helped him in exposure, and got his name out there even more, which he was glad about. For the time being, the drama, so to speak, dissipated, and people just got to sit back and enjoy the 2.5 hours of content provided by the two videos. But with Ian's most recent endeavor, things have only escalated more, to the point that I would guess the two aren't going to be on talking terms anytime soon, if ever again. In the last few years, combat sports have become an increasingly relevant piece of the cultural zeitgeist. Now, it's not only traditional boxers, but also YouTubers and Twitch streamers who are challenging each other to fights. Seeing a clear market for that kind of content, but wanting to do things a little differently, Idubbbz announced the Creator Clash on March 25th of 2022.
I've specifically gotten people who don't have names like FaZe Knuckle. Like, of course FaZe Knuckle is gonna want to box. We got the most insane lineup of people you'd be like, oh no, you have no reason to fight. Why are you doing this? And that's exactly why we're doing it.
A decent amount of the marketing for the event was spent talking about how this one would be different. It would supposedly avoid the performative forced drama of other influencer boxing events, and instead be taken seriously by everyone involved. And the fighters would be unorthodox picks. Most of them had no fighting experience. What's more, the event is all for charity, with the proceeds going to a good cause.
So if you like mystery loot boxes, I mean, this event is for you, and it's hella cheap.
Some of the fighters named would be Matt and Ryan of Super Mega, The Odd Ones Out, Michael Reeves, and Just a Minx, among many others. With such a diverse cast, audiences were hyped for what was to come, and fighters began promoting the event on their own social media pages to hype up their followings. One fighter in particular was Harley of Epic Mealtime, someone extremely important to the history of the platform. He already had a boxing trainer who was teaching him proper technique and getting him ready for the fight, as did everyone else on the card. But it was at this point that a familiar face made a public offer to turn him from a boxer into a savage.
You've conscripted Sam Hyde to get you in punching form.
Sam had already been attempting to get into the world of e-celebrity boxing for around half a year. He had posted several videos and tweets challenging political streamer Hassan Piker to a boxing match, who had done his best to ignore the offer despite repeated pestering. It's likely that Sam figured if he couldn't actually fight one of these guys, why not do the next best thing? Harley flew to Rhode Island to train, and over the next few weeks would make podcast and interview appearances discussing the training Sam had been doing with him.
And I was like, okay, so if I go and I fight Sam Hyde twice a day, every single day for 7 weeks, a single game grump should be pretty easy for me.
Once again, the Hyde name had managed to wiggle its way into mainstream e-celebrity talk, leaving Ian in a somewhat awkward position. He had recently released the documentary, something he had received a decent amount of backlash for amongst the MDE fanbase. Now, with his most ambitious endeavor in the history of his YouTube career, Sam was getting involved. During the Truth About Idubbbz, Sam directly claims that the celebrity boxing event was inspired by the time he sparred Ian during the filming of the doc.
It's just something I don't tolerate. It's just something I don't accept or tolerate.
Oh man.
This is the other kind of fucked up thing, is that he's doing like YouTube boxing now, and I planted this seed in his head.
In the next few months, there would be several Twitter spaces and interviews where he echoed the same sentiment. Anytime his name is mentioned, Idubbbz and Anissa are audibly and visibly uncomfortable, not wanting to even mention him in tandem with the event. At the same time, he would further challenge Hassan to a fight.
Oh, we have Sam here. Sam, there was talk of you being on this card. I don't think it's happening now. It sounds like it's not going to happen. But how serious are you about boxing, and who would you love to box in the future?
I mean, I'm the guy that, Idubbbz, would you say that I inspired your boxing career?
No, you did not.
Okay.
Anissa outright stated that she thought Sam was a risk to the financial viability of the show, claiming they would lose their sponsors if he was officially involved in any way.
I hit up Harley and asked him who he wants to box. He said Sam, and then Sam tweeted out basically like, what his music would be as he came out or whatever. And I was getting really excited for that because, look, I understand that, Sam might not be on brand, but as far as a show and entertainment, like, yes.
Yeah, we would lose half the card though. Like legit, actually, and all the sponsors.
Yeah, I can think of a ragtag group of people that like Sam could probably box with in the future, or an event that he would probably have to create, and that would be cool. Some crazy event with all sorts of non-brand friendly people. I think that'd be fucking awesome, but it's just like not really a discussion for us.
Yeah, we can't entertain it.
Whether there is any truth to that is not my call, and ultimately, I think everyone will just have to take her word for it. But whatever the case, it was clear that they really did not want Sam involved in any way, and were likely concerned with even the level of influence he did have in training Harley. This once again brought up a discussion amongst Ian's fanbase of him changing. The guy had initially made his career off of being outlandish and explicitly anti anti-censorship. He seemingly went out of his way to do and say things that no sponsor would ever want to associate with. And now, here he was not allowing someone to be involved in his boxing event because he thought they posed a threat to his brand. As for the idea that Sam is the reason the creator clash was happening in the first place, it's possible, but given that Ian had previously attempted to get Rice Gum to box him as well as Jinx in 2016, it's likely there were other factors at play. Regardless of whatever tension was clearly still present between Ian and Sam, outside of them, there seemed to be no real issues going on during the lead up to the event. Fighters continued to excite their own fan bases. At just $25 per pay-per-view, it was certainly more affordable than most celebrity boxing events, and it gave fans an opportunity to see people who you would never think would fight hopefully knock some teeth out. May finally came, and despite the doubts of some, the event was a massive success. With over 100,000 people purchasing the pay-per-view, it certainly wasn't a struggle to get audiences to check out the event. And in the end, what they got was extremely entertaining. Fighters like Just a Minx, Michael Reeves, and even Idubbbz himself really stole the show, although in the end he did lose to his opponent, Dr. Mike. One of the most entertaining fights overall, despite its brevity, was between Harley and Aaron of Game Grumps, during which Harley kind of wiped the floor with him.
I want them to know what's going down. The Doc, I'm talking to you. I'm 6'6". You think you're tall? You think you're the two-time? This ain't a game, boy. And let me tell you something. That bulletproof vest you wear ain't gonna stop these guns.
The creator clash overall was a success by any metric, with high viewership, positive reviews among those who saw it, and over 1.3 million raised for charity. Personally, I think it was really entertaining. Next year's creator clash has already been confirmed for spring of 2023, and it's expected it will receive the same fanfare if this year's is anything to go by. Once again, however, discussion around Idubbbz and Sam would spark up during and after the event. On May 17th, Sam posted to his Instagram saying, "I bought 5 front row tickets and found out a few hours before the event that I was banned. So out about $11,500. Also, security was walking around with pictures of my face and bothering people about wearing my shirts. And the cameramen were told to avoid entire sections of the crowd rocking my shit. And I'd still train Idubbbz for the revenge match if he apologized. Mercy and Grace, high on the list nowadays. Just gotta ditch Yoko Ono." Yoko Ono, of course, being in reference to Anissa. A few days later, YouTuber Brandon Buckingham would go on to release an hour-long video of his own detailing his experience at the Creator Clash, which he attended with Sam's production crew. This featured an interview with Sam himself, where he echoed a similar negative sentiment towards Anissa.
For all these people, like deep down, I want him to be uncucked. I want him to get the tattoos lasered off, get a normal haircut, get rid of Yoko Ono. That's poisonous. That relationship is poisonous. She's like his entertainment handler. Like she's his fucking career manager now or something. She's got to go, man. She's gonna ruin his life. I guarantee it. Mark my words. Mark my words. That woman is gonna ruin his life.
During the video, it was also revealed that Sam himself was banned from the event, as Ian seemed concerned he would attempt to sabotage it in some way.
But at one point, he said, at the tail end of the documentary, when he wasn't getting the footage that he wanted, he was really upset, like an angry child. Like he was pouting. He was fucking pouting in his car and shit. And he said, not to me, but to somebody on the crew, he said, "Usually I'm the puppet master in these situations."
What?
Yeah, he said 100% on God. He said that. Usually I'm the puppet master in situations.
That's how he views himself. Idubbbz the puppet master?
I guess so, man. I guess so. So anyway, I think that's where the anger comes from. I think that's why he doesn't want me at his boxing event.
According to Jet Neptune, he and the rest of the crew were confronted by Idubbbz and Anissa, who initially wanted them all to not attend. After some discussion, it was decided that they could go, but they would not be allowed to use their front row tickets purchased by Sam himself. And Sam was not allowed in the building whatsoever. As you can imagine, the comment section is filled with people who are critical of Ian for making that move. Idubbbz has made no official public comment on any of this since the event. However, he did respond to a Reddit reply speculating on why he may have decided to make the decision. Ian was subversive for most of his career, producing content that YouTube would would not overtly approve of. But they've watched him grow and develop as a person. His experiences have made him more rounded, less cynical. I think they see this, and they see him, not as someone who has matured and naturally become a bit softer around the edges, but as selling out to the man. Interestingly, Sam called his wife Yoko Ono. It makes it sound as if he had a Lady Macbeth scenario, removing Ian's agency, going as far as to say Ian can be redeemed or salvaged once she is out of the picture. On some level, I think the change in Ian probably challenges their own lack of growth, their stagnant, negative ideologies. They were also butthurt that he banned Sam from the event, as he had bought front row seats. I'm not sure why he was banned, maybe Ian thought he might try and sabotage it, but they see this as further proof of him straying from the subversive, that banning Sam is akin to cancel culture. Ian himself left a reply saying that he agreed with this explanation.
And so I was just, game theory, what's this guy thinking? He's thinking he's gonna, the shooter, the terrorist mascot, he's gonna make me look bad so that he can get one over on the people that have been trolling him for having an OnlyFans girlfriend. That's literally what does that sound insane? No, that does not. That sounds insane because it's like I'm trying to read someone's mind, but I knew that as soon as I saw the fucking email in my inbox. You can read people's minds. It's just what outcome do you think this person would want? Put them together.
The current strife between Sam Hyde and Idubbbz clearly represents a greater theme for their audiences overall. From the perspective of many of his former fans, Ian has become a part of the very kind of culture he used to make fun of, part of the blame for which is placed on his relationship. From Ian's view, he simply changed as a person, deciding to cease doing the more edgy comedy that made him popular, and instead moving towards things he feels are more constructive. In podcast appearances, he's even said that the Tana Mojo episode of The Content Cop was one of his biggest regrets on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was the one
he
that
suggested, we can go to the place. It's just in San Francisco. I'm like, it is just in San Francisco.
Yeah, that drive and everything. And now I think back to it, I'm like, I can't believe we literally harassed an 18-year-old child at her show. It's kind of.
I guess when you put it that way,
it is very
horrendous.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. It's probably my most embarrassing. It is. It's fucking embarrassing. But it was things that a lot of people loved.
It was like I can recognize why it was entertaining. I could also recognize why it was completely out of line.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that video is one of his most popular and memorable, with the drama around it elevating his reputation to a completely new level as of its release. It was during the same video that Ian defended his use of the N-word, making an argument that it should not be held to an impossibly high standard.
Either all of them are okay, or none of them are okay. But if you try to come online and tell me that I can't say a particular word, but you say words that are just as offensive, in the famous words of Tana Mojo,
kill yourself.
Today, meanwhile, Ian has gone on Hassan's stream to disavow his take on the subject.
I still hold, I think, most of the beliefs. I just don't think that people were bringing up the whole N-word thing.
Yeah.
And I think basically I'm just not it's totally fine. I don't need to say the N-word. That's I think I had this philosophy where you're kind of telling me something's off limits and it pisses me off. And I'm some comedians are able to say that. I should say that. And I just don't think it's not necessary.
Given that he has walked back many of the stances that made him so famous in the first place, maybe it's not surprising that some of his viewers are less than enthused with his change in direction. What began as a discussion about his girlfriend has seemingly been given much more substance in recent months.
Well, I think people have the same problem with me. Is it the same problem with you? Is that we both used to be edgy comedians and we were a part of the larger commentary community. And as we've aged, we've realized that you want to conduct yourself differently.
Well, when you start interacting
caring
with the actual world and you're not in your bedroom creating sitting in your bedroom for 19 hours creating a hit piece on someone, basically, and you actually interact with human beings, you sort of realize that isn't really real life.
It's clear that Ian is now very much concerned with how jokes can affect other people, which in the past he was completely averse to. Furthermore, he seems to lean into political comments made about him in the present day, like when Hassan Piker claims that he was some kind of crusader fighting for the left back in 2016.
More towards the center or left than most content creators of that era, because you were shitting on the most right-wing content creators of that era. Maybe not officially positioning yourself as that, but it did feel you were You dunked on Keemstar, Rice Gum. Like, obviously these are apolitical people, but they're still like very heavily slanted to the right. Leafy, another person like that. Like these, and some of them have come out about their position, come out with their political positions. But like, I would say that they were still like very much like the attitude that they resemble was very much like right wing. You know what I mean?
The idea that any of the people Ian was criticizing during the heyday of Content Cop were the most right-wing creators of that era is frankly ridiculous. Neither Keemstar, nor Rice Gum, nor Leafy were particularly political during that time. The most you could maybe say about them is that they were more or less tied to the anti-SJW wave that occurred back from 2015 to 2017. And even at that, Idubbbz and his friends were involved in the same exact movements. The aversion to outrage culture, the criticism of those who are offended at certain words, that was what literally everyone was doing on the platform.
Today, guys, we bring you the most triggered woman I have ever seen. And we've seen triggered feminists, we've seen people getting triggered over video games, over Tumblr, over all kinds of wacky stuff, but this one truly takes the cake.
Oh, no, it's not a victimhood photo book, it's a feminist photo book. What's the difference? 9 times out of 10 said by a woman to another woman. Yeah, no, I get it. Feminism is for everyone, meaning, you know, this shit could be said to another woman, right? But why does it gotta be a feminist book? Everyone has the ability to be hurtful, but not everyone, but only women have the ability to be victims? I don't know if you guys knew this, but now the Confederate flag is racist. A couple weeks ago, no problem. Confederate flag, yeah, it just sort of represents the South, no big deal. But now it's racist because some crazy racist psychopath posed with it in a picture. They won't allow Confederate flag t-shirts or Confederate flag bandanas. If it's got a Confederate flag, it's too racist for our website. Well, we know that's a load of horseshit, right? Because a couple weeks ago, it wasn't a problem. My name is Erica. I'm a poor, queer, disabled trans woman and have been screwed over related systems of oppression. Yes, I've been oppressed for the following reasons. Not because I'm a bitch. It couldn't possibly be because I have a shitty work ethic. Couldn't be anything that's related to my attitude and the way I conduct myself. It has to be all the things about me that everyone else hates.
This rewriting of history is frankly embarrassing, and it comes across like Hassan is trying to rehabilitate the Idubbbz name so that his audience likes them. Hey guys, look at Ian. He's cool now, and he was like left-wing the whole time. I mean, maybe he was, but the idea that he was fighting for them in any way is a flat-out lie. Taking a second look at getting away with it, during the interview segment, Ian makes a comment to Sam about burning bridges.
Part of me feels like you might be being disingenuous by saying you don't remember.
I legit don't remember, 100% serious.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because you're, doing so much that you just sort of forget all the bridges you burn and all the, like, people you fuck with?
Did I burn a bridge with that?
I could have been.
It's moments like this that, while small, make it clear Ian really has no interest in being the provocateur from his past. He went from telling Tana Mojo to say the N-word to telling Sam Hyde to say that he's sorry. So is it surprising that a decent portion of his audience is disappointed with the direction things have gone? No, it's not. And it's clear that at least for now, Sam Hyde is more than happy to be a voice for those people. He's someone who has never really disavowed his stances on anything, and despite never reaching the same level of raw popularity that Ian has, he continues to be influential for comedians like Shane Gillis and up-and-coming YouTubers like Brandon Buckingham. It's clear that Idubbbz has changed. He's not a bad person for it, nor is he a hypocrite. But, as with most people, he's now very different than he was at the height of Content Cop. Whether you like how things have gone, or decide the good part of his career has run its course, is ultimately up to you. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.